Folks, you're all very welcome back to the Celtic Soul podcast. I have a very special guest here, all the way via satellite from New York, Paul McSherry, former Celtic player, uh, big Celtic fan. I met him as recently as Zagreb when he travelled the whole way from New York to the other side of the world to follow the hoops. Just a quick shout out, folks, first. GM Entertainment, who are bringing Henrik Larsson over on Saturday, the 1st of March. Helix Theatre, Dublin. Platinum tickets sold out, gold tickets sold out, and there's still some silver tickets out. So get on there, GM Entertainment. We have a link to them on our social medias and the website. The King of Kings in Dublin. And we thank GM Promotions Entertainment, GM Entertainment, for the sponsorship of this podcast. So thanks, folks, and get your tickets for Henrik Larsson. It's going to be a great night, and you wouldn't know who else might turn up on the side of the stage, but we'll leave that for the night. There's going to be loads of entertainment and a top presenter, and everything is looking good for a big crowd in the Helix in Dublin. Paul, you're very welcome to the Celtic Soul podcast.
Good to see you, my friend. Thank you for having me on. As you say, last time I saw you, it was Zagreb. It was freezing. You lost your jacket, got stolen.
I know it was stolen and not lost.
Yeah, I know. You were looking a little lost when I saw you, but we were able to spend a few minutes and having a wee chat and catching up. So, and I thought today I'd wear one of your fantastic T-shirts. The boys are back in town. Fantastic.
Thanks so much, Paul, for the promotion of the T-shirts. That's actually a great seller, that T-shirt is. Paul, I mentioned you there. I introduced you as living in New York. Just bring us up to date with life in New York and what took you there.
New York suits me because talk about the city that doesn't sleep. I don't sleep too much either, as you know. Bit of energy. I've been here since I think around about 2017. When I moved, I was up in Stamford, Connecticut. I was up there for about 15 years, and I moved down and remarried, and really happy down here in Queens. And I moved into a little place called Ridgewood, which is part of New York City, part of the Queens borough. And there was an article about 2 or 3 years ago about the area, and Forbes magazine covered it, and they were looking at the coolest places on the planet to live. Ridgewood, New York, the fourth coolest coolest place on the planet to live. So, that suits me, and I like to think I had something to do with that.
That'd be cool, all right. Cool hand, Luke.
But so it's one of those. I'm out in Queens, but we have our Celtic Supporters Club in Manhattan. It's New York Fenian Bhoys, the Manhattan number one. Whoever depends who we're talking to, and that's thriving. With, the games. There's always a good crowd in there. We're always showing games. It's always free. And then any of the money that we take goes to the charities, and all the 50-50 cards and all the stuff. We just cover our costs, and then we give money to different causes and funds that that are in worse off positions than us. So yeah, it's good. I was the treasurer there for a wee while. You do your bit, and then you sort of take a back seat sort of thing. And I'm just enjoying getting in and watching the games. I was in last week for the Dundee game, the midweek game, and the Villa game more recently. So yeah, it's cool, man. I guess my feet brought me over here. You get back to your question. My feet brought me over here through one of these football scholarships. I was up in Boston for a couple of years in 1994 to 96, then Connecticut from 96 to 98. Previous to that, I'd been S form through youth team into the reserves. Liam Brady let me go. Said he didn't think I'd make it. Push it into the first team, and at that time I look back and I recognise that myself. I think I maybe was a wee bit of a later bloomer. I think about when my old boy came over and watched me play over here at university or whatever, and he's like, son, you're a far better player. So I think I was young. I did my best, but I think a wee funny story from back in my early youth when I signed S form for Celtic around about 13. Billy McNeil said, where are you from, son? And I was like, Clarkston, which is, I guess a nicer area, one of the suburbs of, Glasgow, whatever. And he says, look, son, there's never been a player that's made it from Clarkston. You're a central heating kid. And so he started calling me the central heating kid. I said, well, I'm going to make it. He's like, good on you, son. And then I met him many years later. I'm like, you were fucking right.
I take every too hard on yourself.
Yeah.
You mentioned the Fenian Boys there. I'd just like to thank them for they've supported the fanzine over many years. Fair play, boys. Thanks very much for the support. It's not easy getting print out, but with the support of the supporters clubs like yourself, it gets a bit easier. So if you're a supporters club or a Celtic fan with a load of money out there, give us a wee sponsor here at more than 90 minutes on the Celtic Soul podcast. Paul, just take us back to Glasgow. Your formative years growing up, the Celtic connection, and in a bit more detail about how you became about signing for Celtic.
So I mean, I grew up in a Celtic family, thank God. My father, he worked at the stadium. He was a cash taker. He worked there for about 25 years. So when I was a wee boy, the sort of babysitting was, him taking me to Celtic Park, and it was every week. Those days it was Saturday games, right? Some midweek games, European on the Wednesday. So it was either Celtic first team playing or it was the reserves. Every week there at Celtic Park. And my brother, he became a ball boy. So I was a small nipper. My brother, about 5-6 years older than me, he was a ball boy. My dad was working at the stadium, and he tells, if he was here, he'd tell the story. How I was. He got a tap on the shoulder from the senior steward or whatever, saying, "Phil, you better get up to the director's box. Your son's up there flying the tricolour." So I was there early in the stadium every week, watching Paddy Bonner. I kind of remember Peter Latchford, but Brian Scott would be warming up Paddy Bonner, and my brother, he'd be catching the balls at the back and getting them out, sort of thing. I'd be sitting at the stand, just wandering around. You could sit anywhere at that time. So Celtic was in the blood, it was in the family, there every week. I can remember, I was born 74, so I remember Celtic winning the league in 1980, 81 or whatever, that sort of time. Some great teams then. And, just grew into obviously playing football up the park, out in the streets, and then I realised that I wasn't too bad. I was a bit handy. I was, the primary 7 teamers, and I was primary 4, that sort of thing, and just sort of, continued to push on. I was playing with a team out in the east end of Glasgow called Easter Craigs. There was a few ex-players of ex-good pros. Can't remember off the top of my head right now. I've come through that club, and get a tap on the shoulder to be asked to come down and play in a sort of Celtic, for the S form, schoolboy form sort of system. And I went down and I was a sub, and you had all these other lads, whatever, who were a wee bit more boisterous and a wee bit more this, and I want this, and I only play here now, this, that, and the next thing. And I was a midfielder, at that sort of time, and they made me a sub, and and I got on the second half. They put me on at left back. I went out, played my heart out, did well. You know, didn't feel like I was necessarily out my depth, and then got a phone call from the head scout, a guy called John Kelman at the time, to ask me to sign as a schoolboy for him. And I can't even tell you how happy I was, and what a dream it was, and being there every week and getting the signatures and the autographs of the same guys every single week. All the players kind of knew me a wee bit. It was just really, really cool. And then you go into a scenario where you're training with the S forms periodically, where it's once a week, but then you're still playing with your club and you're still playing with your school team. So it was all football. And then I was able to get into the under-16 Scotland squad. And that was just before I went full time, at Parkhead. Liam Brady had just moved into being the manager, obviously the first non-playing manager that we ever had. And I'd think about my sort of formative years of just growing up into being an adult. It grew me up very quickly. I was 16 years old. You're in a tough environment. I got my nickname the first day that I was at Celtic. You know me as Shyness. A lot of people around the world know me as Shyness. And that was my first day at Celtic Park, where, full time, and I'm going in. And as I'm leaving, I think we did a double session. It was pre-season. I'm leaving the lassie on the desk at the front. She was like, "Where are you from, son?" Da da da. I got chatting. She's like, "Oh yeah, Paddy Bonner, Charlie Nicholas, Andy Walker, and Anton Rogan, and they all live up your area. Just you go in that first team dressing room. You go and ask for a lift home, whatever." And at that time, you kind of had to sort of earn your way to get into the first team dressing room. You didn't sort of, just waltz in as if you owned the place. So I kind of waltzed in, pushed the door open, walked in, and the first guy I saw was Anton Rogan. I'm like, "Hey, Rogie, my man, any chance if I lift him?" Right? And literally, it was like the music stopped. You could hear a pin drop, and they all kind of turned around as if to say, "Who the fuck is this?" And Anton Rogan goes, "Shyness, I'll give you a ride home. All right, I'll see you in a minute." So everyone just knew me as Shyness from then on. And fast forward about a few months, I got a wee
Sorry,
bit of a,
fast forward. Can I rewind, please?
yeah.
Just for the listeners and those watching on the YouTube channel. S Farms, Schoolboy Farms.
Yeah.
Was that Celtic Boys Club?
No, that was separate. Yeah. Thanks for asking that question. Celtic, the Celtic S form process, they didn't actually have a team. It was just a fact that you had signed as a schoolboy onto Celtic Football Club, who then, when you turned 16 or left school, they had the first option to sign you. And in return for that optionality, they gave you training. They gave us a couple of bucks a week, sort of whatever expenses, and then the opportunity to come at Christmas and school holidays and come in and train with the squad. So it was a kind of an early developmental program, but there wasn't an actual team that you played with in terms of was Celtic S forms. I was playing with Easter Craigs. Celtic Boys Club was another club separate from Celtic Football Club, as we know. But just in the same name, so to speak. So a lot of people put two and two together and thought they were connected, but they weren't. Two separate entities. But actually, in my last year at 15, because the S forms were playing in all different teams, Celtic Football Club wanted the S forms to come together, at least in as much as we could, so that they could assess our development, see the pecking order. And so I did play for Celtic Boys Club for 1 year, much to I didn't really want to go there. But I was made to go so that the S forms, schoolboy form guys played together in lieu of being offered a contract, the next year.
So you're 15 at this stage,
Yeah.
and so
So that time you're
so,
just
so, so,
you're
so
gonna
so at 16, then do you become a professional footballer?
the first contract. It was
Or is
kind of
it like a
above
white
like a
scheme?
yeah. It wasn't really YTS. It was above that. It was kind of like a hybrid. Kind of was a young professional, so to speak. Um, the bottom line is you're getting paid to do the job. And then when I was coming over to America, I had to get my status changed from professional to amateur to allow me to come over to America and play. And there was one rule that was quite good in Scotland. If you were under the age of 23, you could basically renounce your professional status once to go back into the amateur system to, if you were going to university or you were going to do something else, you could still play football. You wouldn't be, classed as a pro. So I guess it was a young professional going into the sort of ground staff, the grounds team, the youth program, if you will. And then you're playing, and, if you're good enough, you're playing in the reserves.
So there was no youth team as such. It was straight into the reserves,
Yeah.
which would be tough enough.
Yeah, I mean, it was an environment. There was kind of two leagues. There was two. There was one on a Saturday. There was that was kind of the Scottish Reserve League, and then there was something called the Reserve League West. So most of the young guys like myself, we would play in the Reserve League West, which was, sort of a low, not a lower level, but it was more youth team players, and that sort of thing. Whereas on a Saturday, it would be first team guys that are pushing in, guys who are getting a rest, guys who are coming back from injuries. That was the really the sort of the core, if you will.
So if Celtic first team are away, the second team was playing at home.
Yeah, that was really the model. That was really the model in that day. And then on a Wednesday or during the week, you'd have this Reserve League West that was really just the West Coast teams playing in a league, if you will.
So it was obviously a proud moment for a Celtic family when you signed.
Yeah, it was 1990. I think I was there in 1991 to 1993. And it's one of those where, and I was just looking at the Celtic website earlier on, um, you know, Kelly, right, the boy up top that we've got from Ireland. And it's like, his quote in there is about his friends and family. And that's something that, you know, it's proud. You're proud of those moments. You're proud of those things. But what you've got to sort of really sort of understand is you kind of have to get over that really quickly, and you have to sort of realize that you're there for a reason. It's a job, and it's not like you've arrived. That's just the start of the process. Do you know what I mean? In terms of getting in at the ground level, and I think I was a wee bit, maybe a little bit awestruck in some sense, right? Maybe I was young, maybe I hadn't developed, physically, mentally, at that age, and I was maybe a wee bit starstruck, to a certain extent. But that, after a bit of time, I sort of was able to sort of settle down and, do well, and I was offered, another contract in my second year, and I was pushing through, and I was doing all the right things, and then at the end of the second year, they assessed that they didn't think I was going to push into the first team anytime soon. So it was sort of time to part. I just remember Liam Brady saying, "Shyness, we love you. You're a great lad, but we don't think you're going to make the first team." So that was that.
Before the heartbreak of being told that you had the high of being capped as a schoolboy for Scotland, the under-16s.
Yeah.
Who else was in that team? Is there anyone you remember?
Do you know what? My memory. I remember the boy McCann who ended up playing at Rangers. He was at St Stephen's in Port Glasgow. My school team and his school team are big rivals. Neil McCann, yeah, and he was a good lad, but then just so happened he went on to play for them, which is a shame.
Yeah, well, that
That's what it is.
that got now too. So you're told so within them 2 years, right? You obviously got to meet some great players and play along some great players. Did you ever play in the Saturday reserves?
Yeah. Played a handful of times in the Saturday reserves. Charlie Nicholas. Charlie Nicholas was my hero growing up. Got to play with him. Um, you know, Tommy Coyne was kicking around then. Uh, yeah, it was that sort of early nineties crew. Um, McAvennie was kicking around there. Just great characters. Obviously, Paul McStay. Peter Grant. They were all characters, and but the quality was in training, even on you think about Barrowfield, right? You're playing in the mud, right? The facilities have changed incredibly over the timeline. In fact, before I think before Brady actually took over, he wanted one of the pitches developed at Barrowfield, which was an red ash park. You know what I mean? And at times that was what was getting trained on. You think famous Celtic Football Club training in an ash park. And he made it into a grass park, and that was I think a little bit the start of the more sort of modern view on things and the technology and better facilities. So you're playing with these guys, and even on the mud, Paul McStay, Charlie Nicholas, they were just incredible football players.
Yeah, I can imagine. The bird's eye view of watching them. I'm playing alongside them. It must be great, and well done. A great achievement. Um, Liam Brady, an iconic figure in Irish football. Chippy, one of the greats. Won
Yeah.
everything. Won everything in around Italy. Superstar in Italy. Um, a player that could probably at that time get into any team. Arsenal FA Cup winner. Um, but as a manager, it didn't work out for him. But he also probably came at a bad time as well. The club was, I suppose, on a downward spiral.
Yeah, it certainly was I think a little unlucky timing for him. But you look back, and sometimes you need to go through those downs to then sort of get through it and get through the ups. I'm not sure he would have had a lot of money to play with, but then again, I look at them, some of the signings he did make. He signed Stuart Slater on a big, on a reasonable, transfer, as I recall, and didn't really work out. He signed Martin Hayes, from Arsenal, didn't really work out. Big Cascarino. You know, you know, the maybe it was sort of limited. Maybe the scouting, or I just don't think he was able to sort of bring in the quality and the talent that we needed to help at least steady us. Um, and I think he brought McAvennie. Did he bring? I think he brought McAvennie back. Um, he got Tony Mowbray in. I think there was definitely some good, bad, and the ugly, I'd say, if you will. Um, but Brady in training, he was still kicking the ball, man, and he was incredible. Couldn't get the ball off him. Just the little pockets of space he would find. Um, I wasn't in the first team dressing room all the time by any means. You know,
Unless you were looking for a lift.
I'm sitting my bike. Uh, how I'm not sure if you lost the dressing room. You probably lost the dressing room at some point. That'll happen if you're in a downward spiral. Um, and I think we it was the right to move them. Right to move on.
And Rangers, well, free spending. They had the offshore accounts, and which we found out later, but they were able to outspend anybody and outperform anyone at that time. So it was they were dark days for Celtic fans, but thankfully that's been reversed now.
Oh mate,
Full circle.
it's brilliant. I mean, we grew up. I grew up through like a bit of success in the early '80s, right, and a couple of decent European runs, and then it's obviously barren, and so I don't even think about them anymore. I don't even. I was texting my mate from Crumlin earlier on the day. He was talking about how ABC. I was like, I don't even think about them. You know, it's like we're just our own measure of ourselves now, and yeah, I was looking back at a little article that I did for you a couple of years back, and one of the, I think it was, got it in front of me, of course.
Ah,
Issue 128, and it was just after Rogers had come in, and you were asking me about, do you think we'll get the right man for the job, and what your thoughts on it, whatever. And I think, as I read back in it, my sort of stance is still there, in the sense that, look, we as a club need to stick together, and it has to be the whole lot. It has to be the board, the management team, the staff, the wider group of people that run the place, and the fans. Right? We all have to be going in the right, same direction. And when that happens, we're at our best. And it's less about who's in the. I think I was talking in that article about, I'm never going to get, wooed and, sort of emotionally bought into any one particular manager now, because they can leave at a drop of a hat, and they'll sort of chest pumping and grabbing the shirt and all that kind of stuff. That's just for the movies now. Um,
I think when you get to a certain age as well, you see through all that, bullshit.
yeah,
You know, I
yeah,
al- I always remember Ian Rice scoring for Celtic and kissing the jersey.
right. Yeah,
Oh,
it
um,
defies logic, but I also do think that.
that's sleepless nights that season.
But the other hand, I do also think that when people come to Celtic, and especially if you didn't grow up within the realms of really understanding it, the people get it quickly, and are loving it. You look at your Joe Harts, right? You look at your Schmeichels now, and uh, I thought Kyogo was one of those, but sayonara, right? It's and that's a strange one, real strange one. But anyway,
Yeah, now I'm going to rewind again because when Liam Brady tells you, right, you're off ski. Did you move to another club, or was that when the American opportunity came up?
so he was happy for me to continue to train until with the squad, and whatever, whether it was over the summer or whatever, to help get me a club. And I signed for Motherwell on a year. I think it was a year and a year option on a pro contract. It was Davy Cooper, who actually, was David Cooper was all right. He called me the wee Fenian, but he was
Wrong
he,
now.
he was kind of the assistant manager at that time, and I'd been invited to play I think it was against Clyde or Albion Rovers or something, and he was running running the team that night, and played well, and I got offered a contract, and spent a year there, but there wasn't enough players to put two teams out in one day like Celtic, right? Again, reserves at home and the first team away or whatever. So they just played in that reserve league West, which was during the week because they didn't have a big enough squad. So you found yourself in the in the 18 or the 19, for the game, whatever. But you're sitting in the stand, not playing football. So I was playing in the reserves during the week, and I was doing all right. I was learning my trade. It was a different environment. It wasn't as special as Celtic, but there was some good players. Phil O'Donnell was around then. Tommy Coyne was there. Paul Lambert, was playing in the side. Rob McKinnon, who played left back for Scotland a few times, and Paul McGrillen, and different folks. It was a reasonable team. In fact, that team that year were second in the league. Actually, we're ahead. We're ahead of Celtic in that season. I think 93, 94 or whatever it was. Or
that's correct. Yeah, they were top at one stage.
Say again.
I think they were top of the table at one stage.
Yeah, it was a good football team, and it was exciting. I got a knee ligament injury towards the end of the season. Maybe it was mid season, whatever. And where it was, my heart just wasn't. I wasn't going anywhere quick, right? And I was maybe 18 at the time, 19, can't remember. But there was something in me like, this is not played out the way that I thought it would or I wanted it to, and it wasn't for lack of effort. I just wasn't pushing into into the first team's sort of environment. As I think about it, it's a big gulf. It's like it's a big river to jump over. Some people can do it, and going from reserves into first team. Some guys do it well. Some people, don't cope as well. I just wasn't at that. Whether it was mental maturity, physical maturity at that point in time to be able to do it. So I'm 19, sort of 20, and then I got an offer. I got an opportunity to come across to America, and I figured, you know what, I'll go. I'll try it. I'll figure it out, and I can always come back and give the football thing another go. So then I came over here in 1994, just after the World Cup, that famous victory of Ireland over Italy. I know. Unfortunately, I was in Glasgow.
Scored.
I know. Ray Houghton, right? Good man. And spent 2 years in the Boston area, and I kind of realized quickly that I'm actually going to university, or I'm going to college, right? I'm not actually here to play football. Of course, I am here to play football, but I had no concept of what a football scholarship was. I thought it was, you come and you play, and you know what, you might get a chance to go into the pro leagues or the higher leagues or whatever. It's a stepping stone, and then you take a couple of classes here and there, just as was happening at Celtic, and when we were young pros, we had to go into a class one time per week. So the Scottish government were like, yeah, well, we're still supporting you, for your long-term career. And I thought it was that type of situation, but no, you're actually going to university and you're playing, sort of full-time football. So a little bit of a hybrid of both. Great time, met great people, and ended up getting another opportunity down in Fairfield, Connecticut. So I was in a really sort of tough, I would say, sort of working class scenario in the Boston. And then when I went down to Fairfield University, it was a holiday camp, man. It was brilliant, absolutely. The university, I was living in a beach house. I'm big man on campus, having a great time. Captain of the team. I've grown my hair out. I'm just taking it all in and enjoying it. And and after that, there wasn't really much at that time in America to sort of go on and play professionally. That was the MLS had just kicked off, and so there was only you could only get two green cards per team. So that's basically two foreign players per team at that time, and obviously those two spots were you know big names or whatever. So there wasn't really a path through to play professionally at that time, and I fell into getting a job in the banking world and working at a Swiss bank. you know, um, um, and I felt honestly, I felt far more out of my element in that environment than I did, getting into sort of Celtic when I was younger. When you're at least you're in the same sort of the same shop, right? In getting into the banking world, it was like totally. It was scary. It was different, but I figured it out, mate.
Oh, fair play to you. Fair play to you. And you, have you been in America since? Like you haven't been home for any long periods, have you?
Nah, just yeah. As the old adage, came with a couple of suitcases and a couple of $100, and you live the American dream. And I think it is a country. It's a place where, see, if you work hard, you can get the rewards, and there's a wee bit of sort of, more freedom. I think about some of the rituals back home when you come back on holiday, see the folks or whatever. Their routines don't change. Sunday it's going to mass. It's this, it's that. It's bingo on a Sunday night, whatever it is. Uh, and whereas here things are just there's certainly social norms, I think, over there to sort of fit in, whether it's the local church, the local community, this, that, and next thing. Whereas over here, no one really gives a toss. You want to be a good guy, be a good guy. You want to be not so good. No one's really good. No one's going to rattle your cage. And so the one thing that's just helped me over the years being here is being able to follow Celtic. Right? I mean, when I'm thinking, 94, we would be heading up to Boston to a bar. Uh, you'd be paying your $20 on the door, getting in, watching games. In Satanta, that mob were kicking around, and then Celtic TV comes in. Just makes it more widely available. The supporters clubs were really sort of blossoming, that time. And I first when I first came, so I was here in 94, 98. I was in London for about 18 months or whatever, with a job. They forgot to get me a visa, life is. So I had to go to London, work there for about 18 months. Then I was back to the New York area. And so I was a member of New York Celtic Supporters Club to begin with. And then my mate Joe McGeechee, who I think he started a club up in Stamford, Connecticut called the Johnny Doyle. So I helped him. I was up in Stamford, Connecticut at that time, so I helped him run that. That kept me, in touch with Celtic and part of the fabric. And then years later, that club died because just Celtic TV came in and some of the older guys didn't like the feed and this, that, and the next thing. So it was only a small club. But then Joe went to the Bronx Boys. I know you know the Bronx Boys well.
But Joe's giving me a lift from New York to Philadelphia. Yeah,
uh, so the Bronx Boys, so they're, so I'm good mates with all them. And the fact is, I was closer to Manhattan now, and so part of the New York Fenian Bhoys, Manhattan #1.
that seems to be a great club.
Oh yeah, mate. It's with you know it, it's one of those where there's a little bit of a different atmosphere. Anyone that comes in, I think, really sort of gets welcomed. We always get the tunes on, and I mean, every time I go, you never know who you're going to meet. You never know who you're going to sit beside. There's connections all over, the fact is, it's in the middle of New York, so people coming over, they come over for holidays, they're coming over for long weekends, they come over for Paddy's Day, special games, special this, special that. It just makes it like just because everyone wants to, they're there because they want to have a good time and party and sing the tunes and watch Celtic.
Yeah, and Covo, who's from not too far from me, his son is the barman. Is it the Jack Dempsey is drinking?
Yeah, so it's Jack Dempsey. So Kaelin's behind the bar.
That's right. Yeah, I think he was home recently for one of the European games. I think.
Yeah, yeah, and that there's a few folks that we always have a few folks that head over to that are tickets. We've got a couple of season tickets there. A lot of the time they're put on the ballot. You got to get in the sort of draw for it. People heading back or heading to the European games. So yeah, it's a great club. Love being part of it. It was enjoyable, running, helping run it for a wee bit. I was in sort of the treasurer when it was the first gala dinner. They have these sort of big gala dinners, which are really just fundraisers for the foundation.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
that was really really interesting through that. Spent a bit of time with Tony Hamilton, and great group of people doing a great job.
Oh, fantastic, fantastic, and great as well to be able to hook up with like-minded people. I
Yeah.
don't know when I hooked up with you. I'm laughing because I've had some great nights with you. Um, I don't know if it was Vegas or Philadelphia.
This past year was, I think it was Philly.
No, were you in Philly the time I done the Saturday game with John Joe
No,
Evan?
no, I wasn't.
You know
No, no,
that year. The,
no.
the Eagles won the Super Bowl and they've just won it the weekend again.
Oh wow! Yeah, right. No, I wasn't. I
I,
wasn't.
I'd never watched an American football game before. I just happened to be in the pub for the final of it. And John Fallon, the great John Fallon, John knows the rules. And he was explaining as they went along because I had not got a clue.
Yeah.
I tell you one thing, it was some weekend and some celebrations.
Yeah.
But,
Well, at least you were supporting the boys in green and white. That's the main.
yeah, the next morning, on the Monday morning, we were flying home Monday evening, checked out hotel, and we all went back to the Plough and the Stars. And John Joe, runs what a superstar he is, and Charlie Lord was chauffeuring us around as well that weekend. We were treated so well. But I wanted to get a T-shirt from the pub that's in. It's always sunny in Philadelphia.
Yeah.
So I'd been in the pub on the Friday.
Yeah.
And it's tiny, like it's the back of the bar looks like the one on the TV, but obviously that's a film studio. But
Yeah.
I went down and the place is closed. And I'm knocking on the door, and this guy opens the door, comes out, and he says, "What are you looking for?" He said, "There's no staff here." I said, "I'm just looking to get a T-shirt." Explained, where it was
Yeah.
from, and he says, "Oh, come in." So I ended up having a few drinks with him, but he couldn't charge me because he didn't know how to walk the till. But he turned out he was one of the owners. And he said to me, he said, "Oh, I watched the match with my dad last night. He'd seen Philadelphia Eagles win what before the Super Bowl, whatever it was, they'd won something in the 50s or something." And he was explaining it to me. And I says, "Oh, all right." And then he introduced me to his dad. His dad was in a box. He had his ashes with him. So myself, this guy and his dad were drinking picklebacks, which is whiskey and pickle.
Yeah. The pickle juice.
It's not as bad as it sounds. But then one of the guys that I think Danny DeVito plays him in the series. The series is based on the character's based. He came in and sold me a T-shirt and I paid up my beer bill and I left and it was just I know I was back there then the following year and I just didn't get back into that pub. We stayed up in that was the time I missed my flight.
Right.
I flew to New York and Brock picked me up and showed me around the Bronx for the night, and that was that was another night that we'll not be recording the podcast.
When was that? That wasn't that long ago, was it?
Well, it was the year. It was the year. It was the year of COVID, because
Yeah, that's right. Aye,
we'd gone to Philly in the February,
that's right.
and we gone to Thailand in the March, and then while we went in Thailand, everything went flip. But
Yeah,
I remember a couple of lads over from America. I don't know if it was Brock's Club or maybe it was the Fenian Boys, but there was because I interviewed one at that time I was doing the pre-match show in Malone's,
yeah,
AM, and I interviewed a couple of American lads, and we played St Mirren that day, and that was the last game we played because we were to play. We were
yeah. I
just
was there. I was there. It was
yeah.
yeah. It was the boy. Um, oh, he was at my 50th. Oh,
It's the interviews on the YouTube channel. I'm on
yeah,
the YouTube channel.
Kevin Devine.
There you go. So it was the Fenian Boys, was it?
Yeah, aye. He was from the Fenian Boys. Aye.
And so you were in Glasgow that time, and then I interviewed you as well. I had you in Celtic AM in Murphy's. We had a chat.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
Cam Donnelly was in that day, and I think Alan Thompson.
yeah. And Jim Orr. So
Yeah,
Jim Orr's they do the bend it like Bertie thing.
that's correct. Yeah, yeah. That was
So
that was a good lineup that day.
yeah, that was
Apart
great.
from me and you.
Uh, I was going to say apart from me, but so Jim and Des McLean. So obviously they do the bend. They've been looking to try and bring it to New York. So I've been working with them. I've worked with them twice on this now to try and make it happen. But we're not we're in the planning stage. So we'll see if we can get them out to New York and do we.
That'd be great.
Yeah, it'd be great. They did Vegas a couple of years, like last year, I think they did.
2 years.
2 years ago, whatever. And so see if we can get it in New York. It'd be smashing.
Yeah, it would be. Yeah, it'd be great, especially for the Celtic following over that. But when I think back as well, I'm, I know I've been in your company in Vegas. I just can't remember which one we first met. But I won't forget the last one.
Yeah, no, it was great. I think I, I think I
I
bought I think I bought 25 t-shirts. I worn them all at the same time.
think that was only the first day. Every time I seen you coming, I was licking my lips. Oh, here we go. So, you're like a walking model for me, you know. Just I mentioned Tomo was on that lineup.
Yeah.
Just condolences to Tomo. He lost his mum
Oh my goodness.
today, I think. So condolences to Tomo. I've been in contact with just to send him a message, and
Yeah, well,
he's been messaging back and that. Great guy, Tomo, and I know his mum drank. She used to go for a drink to the Irish club in Newcastle. He always spoke about it.
right.
Yeah. So just that's just a condolences there to Tomo. Are you going to Vegas this year?
I'm not sure. I'm kind of.
That's a yes. Then.
I'm in between jobs, so it's one of those that I might be. It's going to be a sort of game day decision. I think. I'm trying to obviously get another job, and it will absolutely depend.
And you've been over to see Celtic a couple of times. You were in Dortmund as well.
Yeah, I was so Dortmund. So it was look the summer was brilliant, right? It'd been 10 years, 10, 12 years since Celtic had been in the US, right? In terms of that sort of summer program. It was brilliant. And I made a sort of off hook comment to one of my mates or whatever who's member of the club. I'm like, I fucking hate friendlies. Like I'm not going into it. I'm not going to any of these games. Like it was just I must have been in a bad mood. But of course, I changed my tune and I had an absolutely brilliant time. DC first, then it was North Carolina. That was the City game, and yeah, we were just and I went to the training, a couple of the training things, that they were putting on the exhibition. You could go watch training, and it was buzzing, mate. You know, folks like yourself, you know, Joe Rourke and, you know, Yorkie's son was over, and, you know, folks, you know, it was just a, you know, crew of people coming together who you've seen out in the, you know, the traveling scene. But we had a right good go at this one because, you know, there was sort of the three city tour. And
Football was good as well.
say again.
Football was great to watch for
Oh,
some.
exactly. Like, you know, and it wasn't meaningless. It was, you know, it meant something to us, obviously, to show well against the English teams, right, and to dominate DC United and, you know, put a mark down for the season. And it was like we all, you know, I kind of felt that we'd already had a bit of a pre-season before this pre-season, right? And you know, the guys came in really sharp. Obviously, Coyne was sharp. Kyogo was really sharp. You know, we were buzzing, and you know, as you say, the football was good, and it really sort of obviously catapulted us into you know where we are now. You know, I think we had a wee bit of dip in form. You know, a couple of months ago, whatever. But you know, we've been able to ride that out, and you know, I'm just just a little disappointed that we haven't been able to strengthen the squad a wee bit more getting into this, you know, heavy, you know, season, heavy time of fixtures and you know the importance of things. But you know, we live and learn, and you know, hopefully, as Brendan said, we'll take something from this last period, and you know, signings, and you know, get it right, get it better, and keep going.
Yeah, and we record this night before the Bayern Munich game, but it won't come out till after the Bayern Munich game because I'm away to the game. I'll be gone for. I'll be in Glasgow for 2 days, and hopefully get back on Friday. Get this sorted and get it out. Daniel's still around, but Ronan, the producer, he's off touring Europe with a band, so he's off rocking Ireland's Greatest Hits, I think is the name of the show, and he's a super front man. So, but
Brilliant.
I'll be sending them over the audio of this and asking them to, you know, sort it out. So best of luck to Ronan and that, and the best of luck to Celtic. And then of course we've Hibs in the cup, so
Yeah.
we're favourites to win the cup. You know, we're favourites to win the league. I want to give a big shout out to Queen's Park for
Uh,
giving the Belgian waffler Clement more heartache, and for ruining the Rangers fans' day, week, year, season, whatever. Always happy. They always seem to give me some content on social media to cheer me up.
yeah,
You know,
you can't make it up. Yeah,
no,
Queen's aces and jokers.
you know, and fair play to Celtic for giving them that false sense of hope. You know, in Ibra again. Yeah, no, it's been great chatting to you, Shyness. Or Paul McSherry, as you're known officially in the banking world. Yeah, Cameron. You know, I'll be as soon as you get a job, I'll be looking for a loan. So yeah, so hopefully I'll see you in Vegas, and if not, I'm sure I'll bump into you on the road somewhere. Folks, yeah, thanks to Paul and thanks for listening. And if you want any more information on the fanzine or the podcast, or if you'd like to come on and sponsor the podcast or give us a little sponsorship in the fanzine, you get it all over at celticfanzine.com. You'll find our online shop there where you can buy a t-shirt like Shyness or 25. You can also subscribe to the fanzine. Um, but you see all our events coming up.
Are we up to date? Have we paid?
Um, I don't know, but if you haven't, I'll be sending you an invoice. No, thanks to the Fenian Bhoys for their support. The great folks. Yeah, just get over to celticfans.com. You'll also find all our news, reviews, interviews. We stick them up there as well as in the fanzine, but first in the fanzine, so you buy a copy. Folks, thank you so much for listening. Thanks to Shyness, thanks to the Fenian Bhoys, and thanks to the Celtic fans all around the world. Hail, hail.
Hell, hell.